It's not a week to play.
Comrades, ladies and gentlemen, please stand as you're able as we acknowledge our dignitaries and our honored guests. Sergeant at Arms, march on the 2023 Remembrance Day Parade.
Make a halt. 1, 2.
seats, but I think it's sitting in the next row.
Flight Sergeant, if we're out of seats, second row here.
We will begin our service with a blessing and land acknowledgement and our national anthem. Elder Buffalo, please come forward and provide a blessing.
Aha. Nigan henanaskumak mammo taima oma hanots kiska yoikuak. I remind everyone that we are standing on Treaty 6 territory, the land of the Cree, the Blackfoot, the Dakota Sioux, the Inuit, and the Métis. I stand here and I'm very thankful for the men and women that made that commitment to give us a day of freedom. And each and every one of us must be thankful for their services, and also recognize the importance of life. Your home fire, my home fire. Together, the First Nations in this territory are more than willing to work with the bordering communities and towns. So I'm going to say a quick prayer and wish each and every one of you the beauty of what the Creator has offered us. Aha mamo tai magak seatsin. Enanaskumoan anotska kiskak. Ekiskiak mechet moigata gohtechek. Magakin tottamaten kahkiota kani pouchek. Viui tsehto namasa kehtoon kamskamak. Eksistanas komtan mamo taima. Hai. Thank you.
Thanks, Elder Buffalo. Let us respectfully acknowledge that we are situated in Treaty 6 territory comprised of the ancestral and modern-day territory of the Cree, Dene, Blackfoot, Dakota Sioux, as well as the Métis peoples. I acknowledge many First Nations, Métis, and Inuit whose footsteps have marked those lands since time of the immemorial. I understand we are all treaty people with shared responsibility to this land and to each other. I offer this acknowledgement in the spirit of inclusion as our call to action for truth and reconciliation, and to provide a special acknowledgement to the Indigenous veterans in our community, welcome the opportunity to listen, learn, and act. Ladies and gentlemen, please join in our singing of our national anthem, led by Jim Michaels and Tom Smith, performed by the Leduc Black Gold Community Band. Please stand. Thanks, Tom. John. Ladies and gentlemen, please be seated. Welcome to the 2023 Remembrance Day service, hosted by the Royal Canadian Legion, Branch 108, and the Ladies Auxiliary. A special welcome to those joining us virtually from across Leduc County, and places further away. My name is Sean Cuppins, and it's my pleasure to lead this morning's Remembrance Day service. We'll follow the order of service in the program and commence with the last post at 11 o'clock, followed by 2 minutes of silence, a lament, a rouse, and the act of remembrance, which will be then resume the service where we left off. Following the service, those who wish to present and place their poppy on the sedative may do so. On behalf of all of us here today, thank you. Thank you for those who have served. Thank you for those who are still serving our country at home and abroad. In the Canadian Armed Forces and the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, we also take the time to acknowledge and thank those who serve our communities every day: the peace officers, the Alberta sheriffs, the correctional officers, the firefighters, and our emergency service personnel. Thank you all. With me on stage today are the following representatives. Member of Parliament for Edmonton-Wetaskiwin is Mrs. Sharon Copperthorne. Member of the Legislative Assembly for Leduc-Beaumont, Mr. Brandon Lunty. The Mayor of City of Leduc, His Worship Bob Young. Officer in charge, City of Leduc Detachment, Inspector Jeff Macbeth. Leduc's homegrown Lieutenant Colonel Philip Parody, currently serving as Chief of the Defence Staff at the 3rd Canadian Division Support Base in Edmonton. Ms. Cheryl Climby, representing the Silver Cross Mother, and the President of the Leduc Branch 108 Ladies Auxiliary, Madam Bonnie Scott, as well as Chaplain Reverend Susan Ormsby and Scout Scott Thomas Walker. At the back or thereabouts is our Sergeant at Arms, Kevin Crone. It is my pleasure to also have the following with us today providing the music for the service. The Leduc Black Gold Community Band conducted by Jan Scott, bagpiper Lauren Kirchner, pipes and drums led by Jerry Kelly, trumpeter Jen Sauvé. I invite our guests to come forward with greetings, starting with Ms. Sharon Capathorn for the Member of Parliament for Mr. Mike Lake.
Today, as we gather on Remembrance Day, our hearts are full of gratitude and respect for those who have bravely served our great nation. We're here to reflect on the true cost of the peace and freedom we all too often take for granted, a price paid by the courageous men and women of our Canadian Armed Forces. Our country's story is rich with heroism and sacrifice, from the muddy fields of Vimy Ridge to the ice-cold waters of the North Atlantic, from peacekeeping missions in faraway lands to standing guard on our own soil. Canadian soldiers have always been there, defending our freedoms and upholding our values. Today is about honoring those who have given everything they have for us. It's about mothers and fathers, sons and daughters, friends and neighbors who have proudly worn the uniform in service to Canada. They left the comfort of their homes, their families, and their communities to face unknown dangers, believing in a better, safer world for all of us. Let's make this Remembrance Day a time of heartfelt thankfulness. We owe so much to those who served, to those who came back, with wounds both seen and unseen, and to those who never returned at all. They've given us a most precious gift, the freedom to live our lives, to dream our dreams, and to fulfill our potential. But remembering just isn't about reflecting on the past. It's about moving forward in a way that honors those who have served. It means taking care of our veterans and their families, making sure that they know their sacrifices are never forgotten. It's about teaching our children the value of bravery, the importance of standing up for what's right, and the true meaning of service. Our world continues to be fraught with challenges, and our soldiers continue to stand ready to face them. We must ensure that they are supported and warmly appreciated, and that their commitment to safeguarding our nation is never overlooked or undervalued. In closing, I ask each of you to pause for a moment and hold in your hearts space for those who have given their lives, to give thanks for those who serve us to this day, and to offer support to their families who bear a considerable burden. Let's unite around our shared hope in the vast potential of Canada, a land that reflects the dreams of those who have given so much for it. To those who have served, and those who continue to serve, and to your families, thank you from the bottom of our hearts. We can never begin to repay you for your sacrifice and service, lest we forget.
Thank you, Ms. Sharon Capathorn. Mr. Brandon Lundy.
Good morning, everyone. I'm sincerely honored to be here with you today, remembering the service and sacrifice of our brave men and women in uniform. Every year, we stand together on the 11th day of the 11th month to pay tribute to the 2.3 million Canadians who have served our nation in times of war, conflict, and peace. We especially remember the more than 120,000 who paid the ultimate price so that we may live free. We owe you all an immeasurable debt that we can never repay. It is encouraging to look around this room and see men and women, boys and girls, all wearing their poppies and taking time out of their busy lives to honor our Canadian veterans, our sacred heroes. At times, the world can still seem like a very scary place. Right now, conflicts are raging across the globe. This reminds us that freedom is not guaranteed. Rather, it is fragile and must always be protected. We also thank all the military families across Alberta and Canada who make tremendous efforts of their own for our safety and security, but whose sacrifices often go unsung. These families have borne the challenges of continuing alone when their loved one is away, or when they did not come home at all. We are here for you. We support you. We will not forget you. On behalf of Premier Danielle Smith and the entire government of Alberta, God bless our Canadian Armed Forces, lest we forget.
Thanks, Brandon. We're going to take a brief pause. Please stand if you're able. Sergeant Arms, color party has to be standing up. During the 2 minutes of silence, we'll also remember veterans who have passed away, especially those who passed away since we last met. Lieutenant General Louis Cuppins, Royal Canadian Air Force; Master Warrant Officer Cordell Boland, Lord Strathcona's; Warrant Carrie Samarodin, Royal Canadian Air Force; Sergeant Alex Graff, Lord Strathcona; Sergeant Zachary Lawrence Lehman, Lord Strathcona; Leading Seaman Gilbert Witham, Royal Navy; Constable Rick O'Brien, Royal Canadian Mounted Police; Constable Herberter Ducharme, Royal Canadian Mounted Police. They shall roll not old, as we are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down in the sun and in the morning, we will remember them. Please be seated. Now we'll carry on with the rest of the ceremony. His Mayor, the Worship Bob Mayor.
Thank you, Sean. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us here today. I am honored to be here on behalf of the Leduc City Council to share this day of remembrance with you. Today is an opportunity to reflect on the courage and selflessness displayed by those who answer the call of duty and their unwavering commitment to protect the principles of freedom that our country was founded upon. I think it's important to recognize that many veterans bear the scars of their service, some visible and some not. The price of freedom is never free, and it is our veterans that bear the cost. On this day, we honor and pay tribute to our Canadian veterans. We thank those who are still with us and remember those who are not. As we proudly wear our poppies, let us do so in gratitude and remembrance and renew our promise that their sacrifices will not be in vain, lest we forget.
Thanks, Bob. Inspector Macbeth.
Thank you, Sean. Today we gather here on this solemn occasion to pay tribute to the brave men and women who have selflessly dedicated their lives to protecting our great nation. On this Remembrance Day, we come together as a united and grateful nation to honor our sacrificed veterans. As Canadians, we are fortunate to live in a country that values freedom, peace, and democracy, but we must never forget that these precious ideals came at a heavy price. Generation after generation, our brave soldiers have gone to battle far from home, leaving behind their family and loved ones to defend our way of life. In the face of adversity, our veterans have exhibited unwavering courage, resilience, and unfaltering commitment to duty. They have served with honor, facing danger head-on, and protecting values we hold dear. Many paid the ultimate sacrifice so that we may live in a free and secure nation. Today we remember their sacrifices. We remember all those who stepped forward, answered the call to serve. We owe a debt of gratitude to those who fought valiantly in all conflicts around the globe. On this Remembrance Day, let us not only honor our veterans, but also recognize the sacrifices made by their families. Behind every brave soldier, there are loved ones who have endured the pain of separation, anxiety, and loss. Their unwavering support and resilience also deserves our gratitude. As we stand here today, we must recommit ourselves to the values that our veterans fought so tirelessly to defend. Let us remember their sacrifices, not just in words, but in actions. Let us strive to build a better, more compassionate and inclusive society. Let us work towards a world where peace prevails and the horrors of war become a distant memory. In conclusion, let us never forget the immense debt of gratitude that we owe to our veterans. May their courage and devotion to Canada inspire us to be better citizens and to strive for a more just and peaceful world. Today we remember and honor our sacrificed veterans, lest we forget.
Thank you, Inspector Jeff Macbeth. Thank you for all the words of welcome and reflection. Please stand if you're able for the invocation led by Reverend Susan Ormsby.
We have gathered here today to recognize the sacrifices of our Canadian Armed Forces, RCMP members, and first responders who have offered themselves in service to our country. Through world wars and regional conflicts, at home and abroad, they have demonstrated courage, loyalty, reliability, and service to Canada before self. The freedoms we enjoy today would not be possible without them. At the 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month, the guns fell silent on the Western Front to end the First World War. Since then, our nation has recalled that moment through our Remembrance Day events, years during which the men and women of our armed forces and emergency services have continued to pay the ultimate sacrifice. We gather here today to remember the lives sacrificed and those who were traumatized and injured in the service of our country and communities. May we show such a devotion to justice and freedom that the heroism of all who served and still serve may continue to be remembered in a nation of service and in a world of peace. We ask this in the name of our Holy One. Amen.
Thanks, Reverend Susan Ormby. Let's join in our voices with Jim and Tom for singing Morning Has Broken. The words are printed in the programs. Thanks, Jim and Tom. Please be seated. invite Reverend Susan Ormsby for a scripture reading.
A reading from chapter 3 of Ecclesiastes, a book in the Bible of wise reflections on life. For everything that happens in life, there is a season, a right time for everything under heaven. A time to be born, a time to die, a time to plant, a time to collect the harvest, a time to kill, a time to heal, a time to tear down, a time to build up, a time to cry, a time to laugh, a time to mourn, a time to dance, a time to scatter stones, a time to pile them up, a time for a warm embrace, a time for keeping your distance, a time to search, a time to give up as lost, a time to keep, a time to throw out, a time to tear apart, a time to bind together, a time to be quiet, a time to speak up, a time to love, a time to hate, a time to go to war, a time to make peace. Amen.
Thank you, Reverend Susan Ormsby. I now invite Lieutenant Colonel Philip Paradis forward for a reflection.
Good morning, honored guests, veterans, serving members, RCMP, first responders, ladies and gentlemen, and the youth of Leduc and area. General Sir Arthur Currie, the first Canadian commander of the Canadian Corps during World War I, in his address to the Canadian Corps on March of 1918. To those who fall, I say, you will not die, but step into immortality. Your mothers will not lament your fate, but will be proud to have been born such sons. Your names will be revered forever and ever by your grateful country. God will take you unto himself. Those men have indeed become immortal. The cost, however, was high. For the mothers, the fathers, the brothers, the sisters, aunts, uncles, and grandparents, friends and family, indeed, Canada has mourned their loss. War or conflict of arms is never an easy choice, nor is Remembrance Day a day to celebrate war, but to remember those who lost to its brutality. Today, and I dare say even then, we knew the cost wasn't just in lives, but to the mental health of those who did come back. Like shell shock, survivor's guilt, which we now know as PTSD and operational stress injuries. The cost of war or any conflict of arms is more than loss of life and limb, but to ourselves. It takes a community to heal, which is why we remember. Take time to remember the sacrifice of all those who serve and have served. Remember the families and communities who support those in uniforms of Canada. I remember my grandfather and great uncles who served in World War II. I remember those who served in Korea and peacekeeping in so many war-torn countries around the globe. Most recently, I remember those I have served with in Afghanistan, and recently the 2 Canadian soldiers we lost on Canadian soil, Warrant Vincent Patrice and Corporal Nathan Cirillo. I have had the privilege to serve with so many nations in my 30 years of service, and I give thanks today for the opportunity that we have now. Take a moment wherever you are on the 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month and remember, lest we forget. Lest we forget.
Thanks, Phil. Please stand if you're able for the second hymn, Peace on Earth. Thanks, Jim, Tom, and the band. I now invite Scouter Thomas Walker to come forward and recite the poem, The Poppy.
The Poppy by Paul Hunter. I'm not a badge of honor, I'm not a racist smear. I'm not a fashion statement to be worn but once a year. I'm not glorification of conflict or of war. I am not a paper ornament, a token, I am more. I am a loving memory of a father, mother, daughter, or a son. A permanent reminder in each and every one. I'm paper or enamel, I'm old or shining new. I'm a way of saying thank you to every one of you. I am a simple poppy, a reminder to you all that courage, faith, and honor stand where heroes fall.
Thank you, Thomas. Please be seated. We'll ask anyone who are laying a wreath to please proceed quietly in an orderly fashion into the main hallway, where there are Legion volunteers who help you into your place and make sure you have your wreath to lay. Proceed to the front, take a moment for reflection, lay your wreath, and then proceed back to your seats for the remainder of the service. Let us begin with Miss Cheryl Climby, representing the Silver Cross Mother and all families of the fallen.
Representing the City of Leduc, Bob Young and Council. Representing the Canadian Armed Forces, Phil Parody. Representing the Royal Canadian Legion, Kevin Crone. representing the Ladies Auxiliary, Bonnie Scott. Representing the RCMP, representing the United Nations veterans, Ross McGregor, and representing the Korean War veterans, Lou Lesperance. Representing the Leduc Fire and Emergency Services, representing in memory of Lou Cuppins, Linda Cuppins, and Mark Ross. Representing Leduc 831 cadets. The Knights of Columbus. Representing the Catholic Women's League. Star Roman Catholic Thomas Aquinas Schools. Representing Black Gold, Barb Martinson. Representing Elks 156. Representing Leduc Chamber of Commerce, Rusty. Leduc Scouting, number 17. The Leduc Lions Club. Mason's Lodge, number 34. Leduc Extended Care. United Nations Veterans. former MLA Brad Rutherford. The Rotary Club, Nisku Leduc. The Alberta Legacy Development Society. Payne, Stock and Sons Funeral Home. Blackjacks. Korean War Veterans. The Leduc Scouts. The Vietnam Veterans. No stone left unturned.
Thank you everyone who is here today, especially those participating in the service. and those behind the scenes making sure everything runs smoothly. Following the service, we invite you upstairs to the Legion Room for fellowship, and all veterans are invited to the Veterans Luncheon at 1 p.m. at Blackjack's. Please stand as you're able and join us in Follow God Save the King. Sergeant Arms, march off the colors. Sergeant Arms, march off the veterans.